There are crimes so unsettling that even streaming giants refuse to touch them, not because they're graphic, but because the truth feels unreal, psychologically disturbing, quietly haunting. Here is a fact most people never hear: some of the most shocking crimes in history never made it into documentaries because producers admitted they didn't know how to explain them without losing sleep themselves. Welcome to True Crime Uncovered, where we pull back the curtain on stories that hover in that strange space between reality and nightmare. Before we dive into the cases that even Netflix stepped away from, like, comment, and subscribe not for numbers, but because supporting this channel helps keep these overlooked stories alive and helps the truth stay loud where silence once lived. Tonight, we explore real events that feel scripted by fear itself, the kind of crimes where nothing is bloody, but everything is wrong. Cases that bend logic, distort normality, and leave investigators whispering, "This shouldn't exist." Stay close, stay sharp, because every 10 seconds in this story pulls you deeper into a world where reality twists, and the most disturbing part isn't what happened but why it happened. Some crimes are frightening because of violence, but the crimes in tonight's story are disturbing on a different level, not graphic, not gory, but deeply, psychologically wrong. They feel like they stepped straight out of a psychological thriller. Ordinary homes hiding extraordinary secrets, people living double lives so strange investigators struggled to explain them. Cases where the how is known, but the why remains a shadow with no shape. These are the cases that documentary executives often turn away from, not because they're explicit, but because they're unexplainable, eerie, psychologically heavy. The kind of stories that linger in your mind long after the screen fades to black. Telling them comes with a challenge, a delicate one. We must explore with respect for the victims, clarity for the audience, and caution for how unsettling some of the psychological elements can be. True crime is a window, yes, but it must never be a spotlight that exploits suffering. Tonight, we walk that line carefully. These crimes don't shock with violence, they shock with behavior, with choices no one saw coming, with mysteries that still make investigators pause before answering interviews. And that raises a question we rarely ask: why are we drawn to the cases that feel too disturbing for mainstream platforms? Maybe because these stories remind us how unpredictable human nature can be, and how the most haunting truths are the quiet ones. Stay with me. The deeper we go, the stranger these cases become. In the next chapter, we start with a case so psychologically eerie that a major platform rejected the pitch before even reading the final script. Our first case takes us deep into a small American town where nothing ever seemed out of place until people began noticing a pattern that didn't make sense. It started quietly, the kind of quiet that doesn't scream danger but hums with it. Residents began receiving anonymous letters, not threatening or obscene, just unnervingly precise. They contained personal details about people's lives, details so intimate investigators first suspected a data leak, until they realized none of it came from digital sources. It was the kind of information only someone watching closely, silently, patiently could gather. Someone was observing the town, not harming anyone, just watching too closely. What made the case disturbing wasn't danger, it was the absence of it. No law was broken, yet the feeling of being observed seeped through the community like fog. Then came the twist. Some residents received letters predicting future events: a job someone would leave, a relationship that would end, a personal secret about to surface. People dismissed the predictions as coincidence until one came true in a way no rational explanation could cover. Panic followed. Police found nothing. No fingerprints, no trail, no suspects. Whoever the observer was, they thought differently, carefully, methodically. A major platform once tried adapting the case but backed out, not due to violence, but because psychological cases like this defy explanation. How do you document a threat with no face? How do you narrate fear built entirely on silence? The letters didn't stop because someone was caught, they simply ceased. Which left the town with one chilling thought: whoever was watching might still be watching. A decade later, the case remains unsolved, and residents still sleep with curtains drawn and lights angled toward windows. Suspense beat. Our second case shifts from a small town to a busy city, proving that even crowds cast shadows. In an apartment complex, tenants began reporting a strange sound late at night, not screaming, not banging, just a rhythmic tapping that stretched through the building like a heartbeat. It wasn't tied to one apartment, it echoed through the framework itself, every night, same hour, same pattern. Management blamed old pipes, but one sleepless tenant recorded the noise. When experts analyzed the rhythm, they discovered something chilling. The tapping matched human Morse code. Someone in the building or near it was tapping a message, but the message wasn't threatening. It was a single repeated word, here. Investigators searched everything: hallways, crawl spaces, maintenance shafts, structural gaps. No signs of entry, no malfunctioning machinery, no hidden rooms. Whoever was tapping understood the building well enough to make sound travel through its bones. A documentary team approached the case but withdrew after 1 week, describing the experience as psychologically suffocating. Again, not violent, not graphic, just deeply, instinctively wrong. And just like the first case, the tapping ended without explanation. Silence returned, but the unease remained. The most disturbing moment in these cases doesn't come from fear but from understanding. During a later review of the Morse code recordings, an analyst noticed inconsistencies, slight timing errors, uneven pauses. It wasn't Morse code created by someone who knew Morse code. It was Morse code created by someone trying to imitate it. They weren't communicating, they were mimicking. They wanted anyone to hear it. And here is the moment Netflix called too psychologically unnerving to adapt. When investigators slowed the recording and fed it through enhanced speakers, they heard something beneath the tapping: a faint inhale, a slow exhale, a breathing rhythm. Someone had been tapping with one hand and breathing into the structure, as if listening for a reply that never came. Detectives described the experience as unsettling on a deeply intimate level, like accidentally intruding on someone's private ritual. Years later, during renovations, workers discovered a narrow gap between two walls, an architectural pocket too small for a person to enter but large enough for sound to travel effortlessly. Which meant the person tapping wasn't necessarily inside the apartment building. They could have been anywhere along the structure's frame, close, listening, waiting. This realization is why major studios passed on the case, not because it was graphic, but because it was mentally suffocating. A mystery with no face, a presence with no name, and a message with no meaning beyond one single, unsettling word, here. Before we step into the final two cases, the ones that truly made producers step back and say, we can't show this, there's something important you need to know. If you've watched to this point, stay close, because what comes next is the strangest, most unsettling mystery in this entire documentary, and trust me, the twist ahead is the kind that made investigators whisper instead of talk. My G, if you're still here, kindly like this video, drop a comment about which case has shocked you the most so far, and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Your support keeps this channel alive, and it tells YouTube to push these stories to the people who actually want them. Now let's go deeper, because the next case isn't disturbing because of danger, it's disturbing because of impossible timing, strange coincidences, and behavior that felt too calculated to be random yet too random to be intentional. Our next case takes us into the life of a man living in a busy city who somehow made the people around him feel observed, not watched, not stalked, but studied. He wasn't dangerous, he wasn't aggressive, he wasn't even particularly social. He was simply present in ways that made people uncomfortable. Tenants in his building described a strange experience. No matter when they entered the shared lobby, morning, afternoon, night, he was already there, sitting quietly, still, almost as if he'd been waiting for someone who never arrived. Some assumed he was lonely, others chalked it up to harmless curiosity, but then something odd happened. Whenever a tenant went through a major life event, changing jobs, ending a relationship, moving rooms, he was the first person to mention it. Not rudely, not with malice, just casually, almost as if he sensed the shift before anyone else. That was what made people uneasy, not danger, but awareness. When investigators later reviewed the building's footage, they found something Netflix reportedly called too uncanny to adapt, not graphic, not violent, just psychologically bizarre. Whenever a significant event was about to happen to a tenant, the man appeared in the lobby within minutes, sometimes seconds, as if he could anticipate life changes before they were visible to anyone else. Was it intuition, coincidence, or something deeper? After months of observation, investigators discovered the truth, and the truth was stranger than any dark theory. He wasn't predicting events, he was paying extreme attention to tiny patterns in people's behavior, subtle mood shifts, changes in posture, micro-expressions people rarely notice about themselves. He wasn't supernatural, he was unnervingly perceptive. But here's the part that made studios walk away. Inside his apartment were notebooks, dozens of them filled with observations about hundreds of people. Not written with malicious intent, but because he believed he was studying how people move through life. Not violent, not harmful, but deeply, quietly unsettling. It was human observation taken to an uncanny extreme, too eerie for mainstream adaptation, yet too fascinating to ignore. These cases remind us of something rarely acknowledged in true crime. Sometimes the most disturbing mysteries aren't the violent ones. Sometimes the stories that stay with us are the ones where human behavior drifts just enough off-center to feel unnatural. A town observed by someone who never revealed themselves. A building tapped with messages no one could trace. A man who studied life with an obsession that blurred the line between curiosity and intrusion. No gore, no violence, no sensationalism, just human behavior tilted slightly, and that slight tilt is often more unsettling than anything dramatic. Before we close, my G, drop a comment. Which of these cases disturbed you the most, and which one should we explore deeper in a future video? Your comments help shape the next episodes, and if you haven't yet, kindly like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves psychological mysteries as much as you do. Because in the end, these stories remind us of a truth most people never admit. The darkest mysteries aren't always loud. Some whisper, some watch, some simply wait. And in those quiet spaces between explanation and uncertainty, that's where the real chills live. True crime uncovered, where the truth doesn't hide in shadows, it hides in plain sight.